Welcome to T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show. Music, comedy, and conversation featuring HB, the Honey Badger.
Honey Badger don't care.
Now, on with the show.
This is Radio Free Roanoke, and this is episode 157, T-Bone's Best of Roanoke show.
All right, let's go. We are in the studio live with the James Lagueux Band, and all the music you're hearing in this episode are songs performed and written by the James Lagueux Band. And who the heck are the James Lagueux Band? Well, it's James Lagueux right here to my right. He does the vocals and guitar work. You must have sore thumbs from all that guitar work you're doing there. And Ben Epperly, master of the keyboard. Hey, fellas, thanks for having us in.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate your show, and we've been looking forward to this.
We have too, and especially because we smell pizza cooking in the oven. So it's going to be a good night. Now, listen, you guys have been at it, I take it, for a long time. You're just not new to this genre. And how would you describe your music? I think of, first thing I heard, it was like Stanley Clarke, 1978 or something. It's jazz fusion. But how would you describe your music?
It's pretty much, it's kind of like that. I think James put it, it was kind of like fusion light. It doesn't have like all the there are aspects of the jazz, but there's like, if you listen to like Return to Forever, sometimes there's tempo changes. And we're kind of stay within a framework, but eventually we'll probably, get more adventurous.
It's a progressive fusion vein, but we try not to go so far out into the ether that we lose people's listening abilities. We're trying to, I guess, formulate a more palatable type of a fusion jazz with influences from classical music and jazz and blues and funk and all kinds of places, and just kind of mold it all into one sound. We have some songs that are a completely different genre. They're more of a funk blues, and we have some straight pop tunes. But the core of what we do is mostly the fusion jazz, and like Ben said, it would be like fusion light.
Yeah.
It's not so crazy that it just goes out into the ether and people are like, what in the world am I listening to?
Yeah.
But your influences, maybe early influences, what were they?
Well, I liked Al Di Meola. Of course, I liked Triumph and Rush and ELO and all the progressive stuff, even stuff from Joni Mitchell was really good. Jethro Tull and some of those bands that would do some, they're kind of a classic rock, but they kind of have that fusion sound in there as well, kind of mixed in.
Here's some Kansas in there myself. Big fan
Love
of them.
Kansas.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben?
So that I've kind of been through like sort of I like any, of course I like all music, but I like music that has a unique, footing or, whatever style to it. For example, like when Glenn Campbell wrote Wichita Lineman, that was like, okay, that's not a typical country song. So I'm therefore like, wow, this is interesting, compared to like other maybe country music or something.
But even pop songs from Hall & Oates have really intelligently written, really nicely composed
Yeah.
arranged songs. It's,
So you're really open to any kind of music. You're just what draws you in, I guess, is the arrangements or what's different about it, or what's unique about the song.
something being
Right.
unique and different time signatures, different keys, and using different modes rather than if we're playing a blues funk, instead of just staying within a pentatonic mode, we'll throw some diminished runs and things in there that will make it sound different, give it a different flavor.
Yeah, it's a
little
flow
bit of
that
spice.
just really
Yes.
gets you up and down and round and
Yeah.
it goes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you guys, Ben, you're from Roanoke, or
Yes,
what?
sir.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then James, you're Texas.
Yes.
So it's like a jumbo. You put it in together, and you come out with this.
In a way.
So, tell us a little bit about growing up in Texas,
Yeah.
and then we'll get to you, Ben. What kind of things went on there?
The era that I grew up in, of course, we didn't have internet, and there weren't cell phones and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. You were in, and I grew up in a very rural and poor area,
What area?
Yeah.
south of San Antonio, in a place called Bulverde.
Okay.
Yeah, it's barely on the map. It may not be on the map. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
it was just, it was desert, rocks, and scorpions, and that was it. And, of course, where we live was so far away, I didn't really have any friends in close proximity to me, so I had to kind of find things to do to keep myself occupied. And in the summer times when we were off from school, of course, it was like 120 degrees in the shade, so you couldn't just go outside and play.
Right. Okay.
So,
Never thought of that.
I
yeah.
basically crawled around through my stepfather's closet and dug out all his vinyl records and was listening to them. And I was like, wow, and I had a guitar. Of course, I didn't know how to play it, and I just started listening. And I was like, I wanted to learn the things on these records. In particular, I was drawn to the violin and cello solo lines, long, fluid, beautiful classical lines. But of course, that was way too advanced for my abilities as a beginner, so I had to find a way to make it happen without any help, and I wound up slowing these 78-speed records down to 33 so that the notes would be slow enough for me to decipher and pick them out. And fortunately enough, I was born with enough of an ear to be able to pick out those notes. And then after learning them slow, I was able to eventually, after playing them a million times, speed it back up and play it at full speed.
What a cool way to do that. Yeah. Good
You
way
had to
pick it
find a
up.
way, make
Yeah.
it happen somehow.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of time on your hands and nothing else to do,
Yeah.
Good things can happen.
Yeah. Well, that's how it
I
works.
feel bad for the kids coming up nowadays because there's so many distractions. I don't see anybody being that. It's hard to be that innovative. There's a lot of great players out there, but innovators are few and far between.
Good point.
We're
Yeah.
trying to make
We're trying
ourselves
to
into
be.
that,
Yeah.
that thing, that crossover.
How long you been in Roanoke area now?
I've been here since I got out of the military, about almost 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I've been here for a little while.
Yeah.
All right, and then Ben, you grew up here. So how did you
Yes.
get your start?
It's more or less different from James's upbringing.
No
Just-
scorpions, right?
Yeah, no score. Just typical, I guess, American household. And I played in churches. I sang in church choir and stuff.
Did you take piano
I
lessons?
took piano lessons.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
typical thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was playing by ear.
Your
too.
mother was a pianist, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
very good pianist. Yeah.
Ben was born with perfect pitch.
Oh, here we go.
Explain perfect pitch.
Yeah.
So I hit a note, any note like da or something like that, and I know it's C, right from the get-go.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Da, it's
All
C
by
sharp.
ear.
Yeah, that's
You
how I
can
know.
can you read music?
I can a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not as. It's kind of weird because sometimes like when I start like my ear takes over. Sometimes if a little
Okay.
bit complicated, I have to kind of start slow and just like kind of figure it out. But then eventually I can prepare a piece. Like I can eventually learn it after a while.
Like if
and do
you
it.
hear something keyboard wise, you can go over in a few minutes. You can duplicate it. Put it
Pretty
down.
much, it
Okay.
depends on how complicated
Okay,
it is. If
yeah.
it's really like, if it's, for example, if I'm like learning like Zappa or something, there's
Yeah.
some stuff where I'm like, okay, I gotta slow that YouTube down. You know,
Yeah,
and be like,
yeah.
oh yeah, and then I figure it out. I'm like, oh
Okay.
yeah, he's doing that. You know,
Yeah.
and mostly it, but like more, I guess, simpler music.
Straightforward stuff you hear on the radio, this guy will have it learned within the
that's-
first 15 seconds. of the
I
song.
Fair.
don't doubt that. Yeah.
Both of
Maybe
us,
not quite.
Both of
Not
us can
quite.
read and have. I have a little bit of. He has more music training than I do, but we just both have really good ear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially an ear for what we like.
Yep.
And when we listen to you play, you're so in sync with each other. It seems
Yeah.
like.
Right.
Just so in sync. And then how
tight.
do you? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's tight.
it's tight.
And how do you collaborate when you come up with the song? How do you do that? What's that process?
Well, it depends.
Because it's all original stuff here.
Yeah.
It depends. Sometimes I'll come up with the first little bit and then be like, hey, where do you want to go with this, Ben? Ben will write like a change, a key change, or a bridge, and then I'll say, hey, let's put this after that, and then he'll be like, hey, let's do this after that. We just collaborate. You know, we both come up with these ideas. We both have melodies in our minds all the time.
Wow.
That are constantly playing, and then
Yeah.
every now and then I'll find one that just won't leave me alone, and I'm like, okay, let me until I get it on my hands and get it out into the world,
Yeah.
until I give birth to it.
Yeah.
It won't leave me alone. I can't even sleep at night. So I'll bring it out and we'll start playing it, and Ben will just start writing some really cool underlying chords underneath it and stuff, and we'll change keys and modulate and do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
We just toss it back and forth. Like I'll come up with a little piece and I'll throw it to him, then he'll add some more stuff on it, throw it back to me, and I'll throw some more on it and add it back to him until eventually we come up with
Building
something.
it. Yeah.
It's like just building.
The thing that's great about Ben and I, though, the most valuable asset we have is our abilities to come to work together on something and not have our egos get in the way where it's all about me or it's all about him. It's whatever's best for the song.
Yes. Cool.
And we
That's-
always write each other space to come in and play something here and there, and we give each other freedom to be able to do what we want. And,
Yep.
But we're able to collaborate successfully without any kind of negativity. It's all just a positive thing at the end. It's beautiful and it's great, and I'm really happy to have met this guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
cool.
when did
That
you
was-
guys start playing
Same here.
together professionally?
2019, I think.
First gig we ever had was at
So
Parkway.
Parkway Brewery,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm not even sure
Parkway,
we ever
yeah.
even did you even rehearse with us, or did you
I
just
think
showed up?
what happened because the previous band.
Yeah, he looks good. Let's take it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. No, the previous band was. I think we got a call and I guess the previous band. I'm not gonna mention the name, but it was like, okay, we got this, other group. You can pay them $100 or something like. I think that's what it was. And I was like, sure, I don't mind. And so then eventually I went. It's just like whatever. But anyway, I went over there, went to Parkway, and it's like.
Started
And it
playing.
was a lot of fun. I think we had like some keyboard or something wasn't loud enough, but it worked out pretty well.
It sure has.
Yeah.
I had a band that was a 3-piece band. We actually added a lady to play fiddle with us, and I had heard Ben play at an open jam with this other band that he was playing with, and I was like, man, I need to get that guy, because I've been looking for a keyboard player for a long time, because really, to me, that's the best instrumentation, guitars and keyboards together.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so many possibilities with that instrument lineup, you know. So I heard Ben. I heard Ben, and I was like, man, I gotta get this guy. So I just told him, hey, I'll give you $100. Just come play with us at Parkway tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
And he
Cool.
came and showed up and played, and it was great. We had a great time. We've been
Yeah.
playing together ever
Yeah,
since.
yeah, and that was it.
Fantastic.
Boom,
Wow.
boom, boom.
We would have rhythm section, you know, come and go, and now
Right.
you know.
We've been through a few rhythm sections.
And, you know,
We've made some changes too to the music because early on we were
I
less
think
progressive.
we were less progressive because we kind of wanted to go that route, you know.
Yeah.
The band that I had that was a 3-piece when we got together before Ben came along was a little simpler. It was just a 3-piece. You know, it was only so much we could do as a 3-piece: bass, drums, and guitar with one vocal, and that was it. Neither of the other guys. Actually, no, I think Tom did sing a little bit, our drummer.
Yeah.
But we wanted to play more progressive music, and those guys just weren't having it. So they jumped off. A couple of other guys jumped on, and we went for it, you know. And there were some periods where we didn't really have a rhythm section. Like right now, we don't have a dedicated rhythm section. But I would hire studio musicians to come in and play a track for me.
Yeah.
I would
Yep.
say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Ben and I would show them the song, let them learn it, and then
Yeah.
once they learn it, we bring them in here to record. They record it, and then we would have it to take with us on shows.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the bass lines I did myself because I have a bass guitar. But on a couple of the songs I thought that I wouldn't do as good a job on the bass, I hired studio, real,
Yeah.
like
Musician.
Brian Mesco
Uh-huh.
and Zachary McDonald to play a couple. Those guys they're just
Amazing.
beastly bass players.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know my limitations, and I let the pros when I needed a pro. It's kind of like Steely Dan. I'm trying to get the best person.
We're
for
kind
the-
of like Steely Dan.
I was going to say Walter Becker and Donald Fagen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I knew that.
We
Yeah, I
try
know.
to find the best bass player, best drummer for the song. You know, all the songs we have, they're different drummers. We use probably 4 different drummers, I think.
Yeah, we did.
And 2 different bass players, if you want to count me, 3
Yeah.
different bass players. So whoever was the best person for that particular song, for that particular genre. We got a guy named Brian McKee who's a really great fusion drummer to do some of the more fusiony stuff. And then it's more straightforward stuff that had some different kinds of flair and feel and finesse to it. We got Jason Hoffhines to do the drums on. So
Okay.
we've just tried to utilize the local people as much as we can. Of course, one of the guys that we used to do bass lines, he's actually based out of Maryland. And
Well, we always hear there's so much musical talent in the Roanoke Valley.
Yeah.
So you tap into it.
Yeah.
Everything and More, your latest album. I think it dropped worldwide Christmas Eve 2022. Is that right?
Yes,
Christmas
sir.
Eve,
Yes, sir.
Hey, well done. On all platforms,
Yes, sir.
Everything and More. And then that's a song, right? That's your single?
That's a
Yep.
single vocal tune. It's just a straightforward pop tune with some kind of jazzy chords.
Yeah. It was,
And people can find that everywhere, of course. And then you've done other albums.
Yeah, we have, I don't know if we have about 12, 15, 16 songs that were all released as singles. I have an album that I released prior,
yeah.
but they're all out there on digital distribution, whether it's iTunes or Spotify or Amazon Music. Every place in the world that hosts music, you can find our music. Just got to search the name.
Are you ever going to get into videos to accompany your music? Have you thought
Yes,
about that?
in fact, we already have one that we finished for a song called Big Dreams, and it's basically a lot of drone footage over the most widely known cities, big impressive, beautiful cities.
Yeah.
There's a video on YouTube called Big Dreams. We have just the music one, and then we have one that has the music and the video. And we're actually working on a video for Everything and More now, and it should be done here in the next few weeks, and we'll have that up on YouTube as well for people to see, because the algorithms for the internet make it easier for your stuff to be found if you have a high quality video to go along with it,
Right. Okay.
instead of just the music. And we're trying to get our music out there to the largest, widest listening audience that we possibly can.
That's very interesting, James. So the algorithms, you can study those and kind of modify what you're shaping your product.
Yeah, and it also with fusion, that's like songs that don't have words and some that do have words. You know, to have a visual to go along with it actually helps people to understand the song better and to feel it more.
Yeah.
If you understand the song and the music through visuals, it's actually a more full experience than just listening to it. You know, it can put that vision that you had in the music into a picture, you know, into a video, and so, you know, I understand why they give more value. The algorithm gives more value to that, and we're just trying to be able to produce the best music we can along with the best videos we can in order to get the most listening audience that we possibly can. It's really tough because there's so many algorithms and so many things going on, and there's so much, if you want to call it, competition and stuff, and it's really hard to get your stuff heard.
Right.
You know, it's a wonderful thing that we can actually do these things, because back when I first started playing music, the only way to get your stuff heard was to get signed, and then they controlled it. Well, the thing is that they're still doing that, but they're just doing it with algorithms instead of, you know, so everybody can put their stuff out there, but that doesn't mean that it's going to get heard.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but we're fortunate to have organizations and people like you guys to help us to get the word out, you know, to your audience, and people hear it, and hopefully they'll come and see us play when we play at Big Lick on July 8th.
July 8th.
Okay.
July 8th,
Big
Big
Lick.
Lick,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
downtown.
We're there,
And
yeah.
you were telling us you've played Parkway Brewery before. You played Floyd Fest.
Yes.
You played
We-
Dogtown Roadhouse.
Dogtown.
We used to play regularly at Blue 5 as well.
Oh, yeah.
It-
Yeah.
It's two
That
chips.
was a great
Yes.
venue.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We haven't approached them to try to get back in there, but we may. You know, we're just happy that Big Lick Brewing Company has been so supportive of us now and over the years that we've been playing together. And of course, Dogtown Roadhouse, we play there a lot as well. Every few months we play out there, and that's a great venue.
In Floyd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They have great food, and they have
Yeah.
an amazing stage, and the sound in that place is amazing.
It's
And the
awesome.
people there
wow.
are so appreciative. It's almost like if you were going to Athens, Georgia, or you're going to
Nashville, North Carolina.
Asheville, North Carolina,
Yeah.
some places where they value unique and original music. I mean, there's times when we go and play, and they're clapping as we're taking the stage before
Yeah,
we even
literally,
start
like,
playing. It
yeah,
makes
you know.
us feel really
Yeah,
good.
and you're
Yeah.
just like, whoa, you know.
You know, people, we
It's
like
fair.
to play
Yeah.
with people that can appreciate. You know, there's some places we've played in Roanoke and played some of this stuff, and people were just
They're
like,
what?
couldn't have ignored us hard enough.
And it's not like they didn't like, you know, we would get some like, yeah, but it's very, you know, they were just like, okay, what, you know.
There's not as
Yeah.
much of a market for fusion jazz as there is for the pop stuff on the
Right.
radios, and it's always going to be that way. Or the Grateful Dead tribute bands, or all the different tribute bands that there are around. Is, you know, it's kind of hard for original artists to get a chance to be heard, because
Right.
those bands are eating up all the most important gigs. But we're doing the best we can with what we got, and we're happy to be doing it. We
As
plan on doing some traveling to play for some audience, because the best thing you can do when you're somebody different, if you're in the wrong place and place that doesn't appreciate it as much, you go to the place where they do appreciate
Right,
it more.
yeah.
Go play, because then they're like, wow, you know, you feel like somebody there.
Yeah.
You know, so if you were trying to be in a Grateful Dead tribute in Athens, Georgia, you wouldn't have you wouldn't have a very good time. You come to Roanoke, Virginia, man, you got gigs for days.
Yeah.
You got gigs for days.
Which is great.
Well, I've always heard that you know, guitar players sometimes have more than one guitar. James, do you have more than one?
Oh yeah, I got several.
When you say several, 600, 700?
At
Yeah,
one
James got a
time, the
few.
most I ever had was about 50, between 50 and 60, somewhere around
Really?
there. is
Wow.
Most that I had. But what I did, and these were all, some of those were kind of just average, run-of-the-mill, basic guitars, beginner-type guitars. Some of them were intermediate guitars, and there was a couple of upper-middle intermediate guitars. And, you know, with guitar strings being $26 a set for the kind that I use, it gets real expensive to change the strings, which you have to do, or else they get nasty and start cutting your fingers.
Oh.
So what I did was I sold on eBay and reverb and just outright to some people I knew in music stores like Kelly's and stuff, which is a great store, by the way.
It is.
Love Ron and all those guys down there. But I sold all of these guitars and just bought 4 really, really, really nice ones.
Yeah.
I mean, like the best you can buy, you can't get any better.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what I wound up doing. I wound up buying 4 of the best guitars I could possibly find. That way, you know, and I couldn't have afforded to do it if I hadn't over the years collected all these other guitars in order to be able to sell, because they're extremely expensive, these guitars, you know. But I was able to afford to do it by, you know, doubling up. And some of the guitars I had bought cheaper and then was able to sell for more and stuff. So it's fortunate that I'm able to play the same quality of instruments as any of the most famous guitar players on the planet, you know, including amplifiers. The amplifier is a really important part of it as well. It's not just the guitars, but it's the amps. You know, the amp is basically an extension of your instrument if you're playing electric guitar. And depending on how you play your guitar, your amp will respond in different ways. So you're kind of playing the amp as an extension of your instrument.
Okay.
And the old school tube type amps, which is the only kind I use. I don't use any of these digital processing little floor modules that have digital stuff, because digital is binary. It's ones and zeros. Tube is analog, and it's just kind of all over the place. It's like a living, breathing thing, you know, and there's a lot of touch sensitivity to where if you just lightly play, then you get this real clean, chimey sound. But if you dig in a little bit more with your pick, it bites a little bit more, it gets a little crunchy, you know. So having really high-end boutique amps that are hand-wired here in the United States, that helps too. Having that with the really good guitars, it makes a big difference.
Very nice. And as we get ready to close the barn door, Ben, I'm guessing, you've got 3 keyboards.
It's more than this.
What?
I've got like probably 9 or 10. There's a couple that are not in operation, because one of the keys, and I think the F sharp. I used to have this. I think it was my mom's at one time. Used to have this Casio, and it was like a battery power. I could take it anywhere, and I was like be able to play it. But the F sharp didn't work anymore. And I tried the batteries, and I was like, golly.
He beat it to death.
Played
Played it until it died. Anybody who squeezes the last drop of life out of something, it'll play in the keyboard. It'll be Ben.
Well, you hear it there, Ben.
Yeah, man.
No.
Now, is there anything else we left out? I know I left out. You graduated from Virginia Tech, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you're
graduated. May 2017.
All right, good for
right.
you.
Yep.
But is there anything else we left out, or anything else you want to highlight that we forgot? HB and I forgot.
No, just keep your ears peeled and your eyes peeled to see when we're playing around, and maybe talk to some of these local venues and try to help us get in to play in some of these places. We'd like to be able to play in more places, but you don't always get a response from a lot of them. You know, you just play with whoever says, "Hey, you come on and play," then we'll play.
But Big Lick is booked, right?
Big Lick on July 8th.
July.
All right.
And that'll be a good one. That's a great venue. They got great beer there, and the atmosphere is really nice.
Good people.
Good people.
But you know, I had an open mind, and we got to have an open mind. And your music, it caught on with me, because it wasn't what I would normally turn the radio on and listen to. But once I started listening to it, I liked it.
Yeah.
So I think if we have an open mind, I'll give you the last word, HB.
Oh no, well, progressive jazzy stuff. It's kind of not. I don't want to say, but the guitar work that you do is just phenomenal.
There really isn't anybody else around this area doing what we do, and we like that. We like kind of being the Lone Ranger out here. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because people are kind of scared of something.
Right.
They're scared of something new.
Right.
But we're doing what we want. We're playing the music that we would want to go and hear if we were in the audience.
And it's strong music. So my last words to you are big dreams and new dimensions. Let's go get them,
Yes,
fellas.
sir. Thank y'all.
Thank
Yeah.
you, guys.
Thank you, James.
So good.
Thank you.